I'm so excited to be here today with Nicole, one of our nurses that's actually working here at a client hospital in our local area of Central Florida. So anyway, welcome, Nicole. Great to have you.
Thank you, Sherry. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how long you were a nurse before you came over.
Sure. My name is Nicole Hewlin Simpson. So I'm from the beautiful island of Jamaica. I have been a nurse for 9 years. I worked in Jamaica for 7.
Great. And, as you went through the transition process here, did you feel like you had a good foundation with that 7 years of experience, or did you feel like there was a whole lot to learn when you got here?
So I had the basic foundation from Jamaica. However, during the transition process, which was so organized, thanks to Avant, they organized because we had the equipments that are here, the pumps, the Lyris pumps, the various machines that are here. Avant provided that opportunity during the transition process, during the clinical process, so that I was able to be familiar with how to use the equipments here. So it was a good program that's very organized, and that helped me to go through the process. So I didn't find it much difficult to go through.
Good. Well, Nicole, have you been back to our office recently?
I haven't, no. I haven't,
well,
because
we should have you back. We should have you back. Some of the things that we've added in our clinical transitions program here, the electronic health record system. We now have our own Pyxis, Nixis type medication dispensing system. Because like you said, the technology gap is certainly one of the biggest transitional areas for nurses.
Yes, definitely it is, because where I'm coming from, we were paper-based, but with you guys having all the equipment, the Pyxis and the pumps and everything, that does help, because this is what we'll be working with, and that it is very important to have access to those prior to. So that's good. I would definitely like to come back to see, the advancement that you guys have put into the clinical areas.
Well, good. Well, you're always welcome here, and we've got these big groups of nurses coming in, and you will be like a superstar to them because you've already gone through what they're going through right now, so they love to hear your stories. But tell me, what really inspired you to be a nurse? And when you became a nurse, did you ever think about coming to the U.S.?
So from a tender age, my grandfather was diagnosed with diabetes mellitus. He was type 2, and he needed to be given insulin shots daily. So I was like 8 years old at that time. My mom who was taking care of him did not want to. She was so squeamish with regards to giving shots. But I was pretty brave. At that time, I did not know that this would be my future job, or this would be what I would be doing. So I opted to, I'll do it. And I learned. My godmother at that time, she was a nurse who lived next door. And so she demonstrated to me, and I was able to give my grandfather shots until the day he died. So you never know the path that you are actually being placed into based on your actions. So that's why I wanted to become a nurse. I wanted to care for persons, and it has been a fulfilling job throughout. I have been doing it for 9 years. I don't think of ever doing anything else but nursing.
Well, that's great. That's great. And, when did you make the decision to come to the U.S.? What kind of inspired you to take on this big challenge? Because it's not easy. I mean, you got to do English exams, although you may have been exempted out, although we had to fight for that. And then there's the NCLEX, and there's CGF&S, credentialing, and immigration. And during the Trump years, that usually meant 2-3 filings to get approvals.
Right.
So, how did you feel going through that long process? You should be so proud of yourself for being here today.
I am initially, when I decided to come to the US because I wanted a change for my family. I wanted to experience a different culture, to see how nursing is done in a different place. And therefore I chose the US because I already had family who was living here. So I thought, okay, it would be good to be close to family while also pursuing my dream. The process wasn't as difficult as I thought that it would be, because thankfully Avant has always been there and has always been guiding me through the process. Now, if I come up on a challenge with regards to Avant, if I come up on a challenge with regards to licensing or any issues, I always have a representative from Avant to speak to, or who would guide me through the process. So it wasn't as difficult as I thought that it would have been. My dreams have been realized, and I'm very grateful to Avant for that.
Well, good. Well, it's nurses like you that make all the difference in normal circumstances, but we have just gone through a global pandemic, and so many other countries are still struggling with it. And I know that was hard on every nurse working at the bedside. So let me just thank you for your contribution to caring for patients during the global pandemic.
You're welcome. Thank you. It has been a pleasure. It's a joy being a nurse, being able to care. So it's a passion for me. It's not a job.
Well, they say that if you really love your job, it's not work, right? So it's good to hear you do. So how have you felt about transitioning into the community here in the U.S.? How has that gone for you as you've settled in?
So being a part of the cultural program that Avant provides the first 3 weeks, that helps me to acclimatize to, what to expect and how the community is. That program definitely formed a foundation in how I was able to acclimatize to the community, and being in a community that are welcoming, and so that actually helps. And having my husband here with me too, it made the transition even easier. So it was good.
Yeah, it's a lot of times I stand in front of these groups of people that are just arrived here for the transitions program, the cultural piece, and then they go into the clinical piece, and I say, I'd love to tell you the hard part's over, because you guys work so hard to get here. But yeah, there's that going out on assignment, caring for your first patient in a new environment. There's getting your family settled. But I'm glad to hear that you felt prepared for that and then supported by Avant during that time.
Yes, I'm constantly and I always say to my HR specialist, and I always say to my clinical manager, I'm so grateful for the support. You can call them at any time. You can send an email. They're always checking up on us. They're always there with us throughout the process. Even when my husband came, we weren't sure how for him to get a job, because again, we're new to the system. I was able to speak to my HR specialist, and she guided me into for him to access a job, and he was able to get a job. He and I started working on the same day, actually. So it has been good. You guys have been very good to us, and we're eternally grateful.
Well, good. Well, it's great to hear about your success and that your husband's working. I mean, a lot of times you don't even know all the nuances of a new place that you're going, how does a spouse find a job? How do you find a community to live in? And it sounds like you've been in this area long enough, and you've just moved to a new community where you're laying deeper roots. So that's great to hear.
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
I was just saying that we just moved to this community in Deltona, and it's more family orientated for, we're preparing to have a family. So we needed to have that foundation, and has been good thus far.
Well, good. Well, it's an exciting time for you as you think about, deepening your roots in the community. And you've been at a client hospital and you've been enjoying it there, and I know they're very supportive and very fond of all of their Avant nurses. So has that gone well at the client hospital?
It has. I like the fact that our manager and director, they have an open door policy. You know, the motto of our hospital is care like family, and it's not only that we care for patients, but we also care for our staff members like family. And I have felt that since working there for the past 2 years, so it has really been good. I like that. I do like that. You know, back home where I was, I didn't always feel like a family being there. So being here and actually feeling like I'm a part of the family, I do appreciate.
Good. Well, I'm happy to hear that, because you know we try to make great matches with our client hospitals for our nurses, because you know you've been here 2 years, you're laying down roots, you're finding a community where you and your husband want to start a family. I really appreciate you sharing the details of how you've gone through this process and how Avant supported you. But again, I just want to congratulate you on your success, your hard work. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of tenacity to get through the process and be a nurse over here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I do appreciate it.
Do you have any advice for anyone that's tuning in today, that's thinking about coming on the Avant program, maybe looking at different programs?
Definitely. So if you are planning to come to the US, I would definitely say make your choice be Avant Healthcare. They're here for you. They're very organized, very structured program to help you through the process of transition. From beginning to the end. They're always there for you. You can always call, you can always email them. They're always willing to answer any questions that you have. So definitely make Avant your choice.
Thank you. And maybe if they come through Avant and they go to your client hospital, maybe you'll be their preceptor. I hear that you're a preceptor of other nurses now. That's awesome.
Yes, I am. I'm very humbled to be chosen. You know, I always thought that I'm hiding under the radar, but apparently what I'm doing is actually seen. So I'm very humbled to be, very humbled.
That's
and the
awesome.
fact that she's also from Jamaica, it also bridged the cultural. So it's very good. I have somebody to communicate with in terms of cultural. That's good. It does help. Show somebody what you have learned and to guide them.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because there's nothing better than working with another international nurse that's been in your shoes those first days and weeks on the hospital floor, which can be so overwhelming. So I'm sure that nurse is very happy to have you as a preceptor. And I wish you and your husband all the happiness in your new community and working in your client hospital. And if you get a chance, Nicole, please come back and visit us. We'd love to show off some of the new things we have in our skills lab and get you in front of some of the new nurses that will be inspired by your story.
Thank you, Sherry. I definitely will stop by. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.